And winter is coming.
Hey, welcome to Half the Battle, and welcome, my friends, to another Winter is Coming.
And we're beginning with a bang, ranking all Arctic or cold weather themed figures from the original G.I. Joe line. This is gonna be a little different than the other rankings, as both Joe and Cobra will be on the same list, and we won't go alphabetically, but by year. Also, while the tier listings by year rank figures comparing them to toys from the same year and previous ones, this one has figures going up against other Arctic figures, mostly.
With that said, let's get started.
First up is Snow Job. Now, I may have been a bit harsh when I did the 1983 rankings, as I put him in the bland tier. This is a biased ranking, of course, as these are my own opinions, and I always found a lot of Arctic figures bland because they were mostly white. But in hindsight, I have to admit, he came with some cool accessories, and that rifle the cartoon made iconic, so for this list, I'll upgrade him to the good tier.
For the next figure, I was debating whether they belonged on the list.
Since it's not strictly an Arctic one, though it is definitely a cold weather one, namely Alpine. But since it is such a great toy with awesome accessories, and it is appropriate enough to include, I'll not just add it to this ranking, but I'll put it in the best tier like I did the first time. Frostbite got into the good tier last time, but in last place. I think I want to put him in a better spot in that tier this time, since he came with a pretty awesome looking gun with scope. This was especially nice since he was a vehicle driver, and they don't get much in the way of accessories usually. Now for this next one, I've gushed about the Snow Serpent on many occasions, so I can't really add anything here. Yeah, great figure, great accessories, no other place than that best tier for him.
Speaking of accessories,
I've got to admit, I was never too fond of Iceberg's rifle. It's too big and unwieldy. That's not enough to keep the figure out of the good tier though, as it is nice looking and avoids being bland. Next, Avalanche is anything but bland. Futuristic and cool looking. I haven't changed my mind, so he stays in the good tier. I do kinda hate the mic on his helmet because it's removable and thus very losable. The Ice Viper remains top tier, thanks to the unique helmet feature. Also, maybe this is just me, but the head is very suitable to make a custom Cobra Trooper that's more comic accurate. Blizzard also keeps his spot, this time in the good tier, thanks to his accessories.
oh, and here's a bonus.
I'm adding the European Tiger Force version of Blizzard. And it still belongs in the weird tier, because why the hell would you pick that figure for Tiger Force? And then make him yellow? That brings us to Tiger Force Frostbite, whose existence is nearly as baffling as Blizzard's. At least with Frostbite, there's the excuse they wanted to release a new version of the Snowcat, so might as well include the figure. Still weird tier though. Stalker version 2 is good tier, like with other Arctic figures, mostly thanks to the great set of accessories. I mentioned the canoe last time, and it remains awesome. I think I soured a bit on Windchill. I can't really call it bland, though I want to. He just doesn't do much for me. But it's a perfectly good looking figure, so I let it keep its spot in the good tier.
Okay, we're breaking new ground here, as I haven't done a tier list on figures past 1989.
So Sub-Zero, no, not that one. This one from 1990 is a new entry. And I'm not a big fan. I don't really like the mold or the colors, but it's not bad either. And I guess there were some cool accessories, so that carries it into the good tier. Man, I hope they paid the people who designed the accessories for the G.I. Joe line well, because they contributed a lot to the success of the figures. Coldfront is a cool and futuristic figure that looks like he belonged in Battle Force 2000 if that team had lasted longer. And his vehicle is called the Avalanche.
Coincidence?
Anyway, he goes into the good tier. His microphone and visor go straight into the worst tier because they are very hard to find and make a complete figure expensive as hell.
A second version of the Snow Serpent was always gonna have a lot to live up to.
And this toy doesn't really pull that off. It tries to be 90s cool with a snowboard and working missile launcher, but that just makes him look like he's trying too hard. I'm not too fond of the colors, but he is still pretty fly for a white guy, so I'll put him into the good tier. Frostbite version 3 also doesn't live up to the original. It's pretty male looking, and apart from the mask that makes him look like Jason Voorhees, his accessories are reused from older molds, so he goes into the bland tier. Iceberg version 2 also came with a snowboard because 90s. But again, the rest of the accessories are reuses. Also, why the yellow head? I really don't like this look. It's ugly, so into the bad and ugly tier he goes. Next are Snowstorm, Snowstorm, and Snowstorm.
Yeah, 3 versions of the same guy that came out in rapid succession.
All using the same mold that came out in 93 and 94. And colors really make the difference, don't they? The first version is completely ruined by the orange. It's beyond ugly and makes the figure crash straight into the worst tier. The blue one is slightly better, but they kept enough of the orange to still keep it from being good, so it goes into the bad tier. The 1994 black version is the best and gets a spot in the good tier. Bushido is on this list only because he's called a snow ninja.
I'm not sure what the point of that was.
Except maybe in a we have Mortal Kombat Sub-Zero at home kinda way. Definitely weird. Weird enough for that tier, in fact.
The next 4 figures are unique because they were a mail-in offer from Hasbro called the Arctic Commandos, and they were all repaints of previous figures.
First, there's DJ, no longer with Battle Force 2000 it seems, and he's still going into the weird tier because of the look, but they did make him blander. The color scheme is a bit more subdued, but that's okay. The biggest crime is the mail-in figures came with generic guns, not the unique accessories their previous versions had. That's also the thing that keeps the Snow Serpent version 3 out of the best tier. I love this color scheme, but losing the accessories means losing out on the top spot. But he still gets first place in the good tier. This version of Stalker loses the most by losing the previous version's accessories and condemns him to the bland tier. The new color scheme is just... The final one from this mail-in pack, Sub-Zero, literally does nothing for me.
And I hate to sound like a broken record,
but losing the accessories is a black mark. Bland tier it is. Windchill version 2's colors are ugly on him, and making the eyes the same color as his hair makes him look demonic. So he goes into the bad and ugly tier.
And we're not exactly ending on a high note, are we?
Because it's Shadow Ninja Bushido. He looks even more like a Mortal Kombat ripoff, and the whole transparent figure thing just doesn't work for me. He goes into the worst tier.
And that's it.
All G.I.Joe Arctic or cold weather figures ranked. Well, from the original toy line anyway.
And since I know somebody will mention it...
Yes, stuff like the orange on Snowstorm or the yellow on Iceberg makes sense, since you'd want high visibility clothing in cold weather environments to make it easier to find you if you are in an emergency situation. But these are soldiers meant to be camouflaged, so it doesn't make sense here. Especially Blizzard, who can only hide in yellow snow.
Go find something else to yell about at me in the comments below. Well, I'll see you next time, everybody. And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing?